lives and businesses that reflect who they actually are, as opposed to what we all think they should be. So for me, I think if I talk about my own survival mode, it was my mind, body, and soul going into automatic pilot, or kind of, and there not being this alignment that you just talked about, there not being this moment of pause to ask myself what I needed, what I wanted, with whether what I was going to be doing was the right thing. When we're in a stad, when we're in this outward expression, when we're reacting to something, it's more of a consequence of something in the outside arena of life. I think that quite often that's a way to think of survival mode as well.
Mhm.
I can think of one, and it was about 7 years ago, and I got very sick. And it looked like it had just come on all of a sudden out of nowhere. There I was. I'd been healthy and happy before. And then I got very sick and my body started to shut down. I needed to be a people pleaser and I needed to say yes to everything. And I needed to be a very, very good girl in order for everybody to love me and accept me. My body literally stopped me in my tracks. And for 3 years, I was in and out of hospital every month, every 2 months. I had something that's called transverse myelitis, so an inflammation of the spinal cord. And my legs decided that they didn't really want to work anymore, as well as they did. It was very difficult not being the type of mum that I wanted to be when he was so young. And this forced pause, it sounds really corny, and I'm almost hesitant to say that it was the greatest gift that I've ever been given, but it really was, no matter how corny it sounds. Those 3 years where I was struggling to walk and I was struggling sometimes to breathe and I was struggling to do simple things like shower myself and, look after my son and keep my family safe and happy and warm. From the outside, it looked like my life was absolutely perfect and thriving. But in or these years of pause where, almost I allowed myself, I was forced to, but now I look at it with a different lens. I saw all of these things that I just hadn't wanted to see in the past, of how I'd been surviving, how certain traumas had led me to react and behave in certain ways, and had led me to create this perfect life on the outside where everything seemed so shiny and wonderful, but actually inside wasn't really fulfilling me in the way that I wanted it to.
I think it was my reflection that made me realize that I had been operating from trauma responses for many, many years. And I remember prior to that reflection, I would have just chalked it up to, this is my personality, this is who I
Mm.
am. People
Yeah.
pleasing is a trauma response, and most people aren't even aware of that. They just think this is part of my personality. I'm done. Like you gotta figure this out another way. And
Yeah.
until then, I'm on strike.
For example, if somebody comes to me and their trauma is so great that talking about something is still just too difficult, social coaching gives us this other way in.
Because, a lot of people probably don't recognize that our body is like a huge flash drive.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it stores everything. We
Yeah.
may think we have passed this traumatic event. It is
Mhm.
stored in our bodies.
I wish I had a magic wand, and with this magic wand, we could magically make everything go away. It's not linear. We're on a roller coaster, and sometimes we're at the top and it's amazing, and sometimes we have to go down in order to feel the other side of things. But it's about finding our own personal way to navigate and to surf the different directions and the different things that come up for us.
But with light comes darkness, with rain comes sunshine, with everything else comes the opposite.
And our thoughts create reality. That's what we
Absolutely.
don't remember. That's what we don't, we don't, attribute the power of our thoughts because what we're thinking becomes something.
Mhm.
It becomes that emotion. It becomes that thing that you're saying to yourself.
Absolutely.
True joy is that space where there is the absence of judgment, where our brain is not just going 10 to a dozen, where our brain it hasn't got all of these limiting beliefs in there telling us what we should be doing, we should be thinking, and we're good enough and we're not good enough. That is the true definition of joy, and it always stuck with me. It's a liberation of all of the things, of the weight and the pressure of the shoulds and the have tos.
I would say conveyor belts of success
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
society, culture, family all dictate to us. And we
Hmm.
get on these conveyor belts and we may have to hop from one to the other. And life doesn't begin until retirement, right? So, like, you basically have to give away ourselves for many, many years until we can reap these rewards, and being able to accept that, understanding that there's no one size fits all for happiness and contentment and fulfillment in life.
Yeah.
I just feel like we waste so many years being victim to these expectations that end up putting us in survival mode often.
Using our values as our own personal compass. And when we know what so I have an exercise that I do with a lot of people in the first couple of sessions when we start working together, whether it be business wise or, on a personal level. And we go through this kind of mini workshop where we come out the other side with our 5 core values. And once we become really clear about that, it's then easier to start to see where I'm doing things that are in alignment with that, where I'm not, where is the place that maybe I want to, put a little bit more energy so I can feel that that's shining through in my life or in my business.
And I just want to remind you, you were not built to break, but you damn sure were not built to just survive. Disrupt the cycle, reclaim your life, and thrive on your own terms. And I will see you next week.